Hi, welcome to this week's episode of This Full Life. I'm Tara Davis. Let's break away from boundaries, which I said I was going to talk about last week. I said last week that we were going to address boundaries all month. And something has come up that I really want to share with you and talk about more in depth. And that is a major lesson that I have learned over the last 2 months. It's been unfolding and it continues to unfold. And I really wanted to bring this to you and share it with you so that you could see where it's happening in your life and see where you're using different pieces to block others away. So here's kind of how that unfolded for me. I am currently in a year-long program, business program, with 3 incredible business coaches. And they cover the gamut from emotional well-being, from your physical well-being, all of the marketing and sales, like all the business part, but they also really cover the emotional part, because when you are really growing a business at a fast pace, there's a lot of emotional growth that happens at the same time. And if you're wanting to affect change in people, there has to be this level within you that is really willing to awaken and open up in a way that you haven't opened up before. And so one of my coaches during one of our calls brought to my attention the fact that I was using my big personality to keep people away. I will just share with you and be so straightforward that when she dropped this bomb, I was pissed. I was so frustrated. And immediately, as soon as I was so mad, I knew immediately there was a trigger in this for me. I knew that this was something that was so spot on because it brought up so much intense emotion within me. I knew that something had to be there so deep that I wasn't even looking at it. And it came out of the blue. It just hit me. Yeah, it just kind of sideblinded me from nowhere. And so she said, Tara, I invite you to look at this big energy because you use it as a defense mechanism. And I sat with this. And as soon as she said those words, I remember saying right back, I knew you were going to say that. Like it just sat with me. I knew that there was something that was going to come up, that she was going to just lay flat on the table and be unapologetic for speaking that truth. This is what I'm paying this coach for. I'm paying her so that I can be my best version for you. And so when she laid this down, I thought, wait a minute. Well, after I got initially over the initial madness, anger, frustration, denial, like I actually kind of went through all the stages of grief that we would go through, because I thought, wait a minute, this big personality is who I am. I am really bubbly and really happy. And that's just me. That's my person. And so I thought, okay, where is this trigger in me that I'm using to keep me safe and using as a defense mechanism? I really wasn't tapping into how I was using it as defensive for about 3 days. First of all, I had this major personality crisis where I didn't even know how to show up. If I wasn't showing up with this big personality, how was I supposed to show up? Like, if this isn't the person that I am in this big, bubbly, happy energy, who is it that I am? And so I remember she dropped this bomb on a Thursday. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I was in such a fog because I didn't know who I was supposed to be if this big energy wasn't me. I didn't know how to interact with people. A friend came up to me and I just remember thinking in my head, I don't know how to relate to you. I'm having a personality crisis right now. And it was so intense that weekend. I had a chat with my husband so many times. If this isn't me, who am I? And he just said, honey, I know you'll figure this out. I know you. I know when something really big comes to you, you'll figure this out. Just trust your own process. And I had to just trust that process. I had to trust that deep within, I knew what was going to unfold. And so as I continually coach my clients and have previous knowledge of, allow the process to unfold. A lot of times in my personal life, when I am doing so much growth, or just any growth in particular, and I have a big aha moment, I want the rest of it to just completely unfold so that I can see the rest of the patterns and see the end result. And it doesn't always happen that way. It doesn't always happen the way that we want it to, because if we were to fast forward to the end, we miss out on all the little nuggets in between that are the learning pieces. So, and I know this piece, but every time it unfolds differently for me, and the same, it unfolds in its own time if I will just be present and patient and mindful and listen and watch. Everything will happen as exactly as it's supposed to happen. And so as I just was kind of in this quagmire, this soup of personality crisis, I knew to just breathe. Breathe and just be. Just continue with my weekend, starting the next week, and just to see what came. And so I chatted with a girlfriend and I laid it out for her as well and said, hey, here's what came from one of my coaches. I trust that you will tell me the truth of how you see this for me. How do you think I portray this? Because I was still kind of befuddled in how I was using it, this big personality, this happy personality, as a defense mechanism. I couldn't tap into my own to see it. And she said, oh, yeah, I can see how that goes for you. When we had just come back from a conference, she said, yeah, I can see that that big personality of yours goes in the room even before you're there to make sure that everything is safe. And you create a bubble around you so that you stay safe, so that no one can come in unless you want them in, and you keep it all at bay. And I thought, as soon as she said it, it was so spot on. Like I had this big bubble that I would project hundreds of feet in front of me to make sure that everything was safe, to make sure that everyone that I was going to meet, that I was going to resonate with, and if I didn't, I had this bubble that would keep them at a safe distance. Yeah, and as soon as she brought this to my attention, it clicked. Like I didn't even know I was doing what I was doing, but when she said it, I recognized it. I recognized this big bubble of energy that I was sending forward to keep me, quote, safe, so that I didn't have to like really show up for myself and for other people. And so as this kept unfolding over the last several weeks, what I have realized has been really interesting for me. So I'm still bright and happy and cheery and bubbly. That's just me. That's my jam. That's my personality. That's what I bring to the table. It's just natural. It's my natural state of being. What isn't natural for me is to use it in a way that keeps me away, that keeps me thinking that I'm safe, that keeps me thinking that I don't have to relate to you. I don't like that. And I don't want to be that. And so what evolved and what kind of unfolded for me as I just allowed myself to witness my own previous patterns and desire to keep others at bay, what I witnessed was that this was a personality that was created out of need. I had to show up specifically in my husband's um, previous, so for the past 5 years, in my husband's job, whenever I would accompany him to specific events, actually it was all the time, political events, I had to show up in a specific way. I was expected to show up in a specific way. And I played that part to a T. Like, I did my job. I did exactly what I was supposed to do, how I thought I was supposed to act, how I was supposed to act to help his career, how I should be acting while I was meeting other people to further his career. Like, I so played that gig well. I just didn't realize, like he did when he retired and took a year off to kind of let everything fall away and let his own personality come away. No one told me I could do the same thing. I didn't realize that I kept that persona, that projected image. I was still going with it. We all allowed him, my husband, to let go and to let everything fall away that was no longer needed for his previous job, and he got to emerge. I forgot to do the same thing. So when someone tapped me on the shoulder, it was this reawakening of, let it go. Let that piece go for you. Now who are you? And so here's a few other things that have come up. I have been so willing and recognizing, so willing to recognize and witness the places where I was keeping others away. I am always willing to be vulnerable and to tell you everything that goes on in my life. That has never been a problem. I think for me, what the issue was allowing other people. I would only be vulnerable with my clients or those that I felt safe with, and with you. With someone I didn't feel safe with, I was not willing to be vulnerable. And safe with meaning those people would probably trigger me. They would probably bring things up for me that I wasn't willing to see, wasn't ready to see. With those people, I wasn't willing to be vulnerable, and I had this shield. So over the last month and a half, I have been practicing being completely vulnerable and giving thanks to people who have given me lessons. There is a woman in my life who has been a trigger for me for the last couple of years, and I wasn't willing to let her in. I kept her at bay by feeling that I was better than she was, that I knew more than she knew, that I had different areas of expertise. And this was so interesting for me to become witness to of my own story, because I am not usually like this. I am by and large accepting of everyone and everyone's walk of life, and your story, like, it doesn't even hardly affect me. I just am so inclusive, exclusive, inclusive of everyone. And so this particular woman, I wanted to become more vulnerable with her. And so I went to her and said, you know, when this particular situation happened, this was a different woman now than I'm telling you about, than I was talking about at the beginning. When you did this for me, this particular situation, and you held my feet to the fire and would not let me budge, I was so mad at you. I was just so internally boiling, thinking, why will she not let me do this? I've given her all the reasons why I want to do this. I can't believe that she won't let me shift and do this over here. What it did for me actually was held my feet to the fire, because really that thing that I wanted to do wasn't supposed to happen in the first place. I can see that now. It was really clear. And so I came back to her and said, I really appreciate you not letting me out of this agreement that we had previously made. And I was so mad at you, but here's what it did for me. And I listed off all the things that it had done for me and that she had given me, and what a gift that she had given me that she probably didn't even realize because she was just doing her job. I was so thankful and grateful to her for doing her job. And I'm a strong woman, and she was holding my feet to the fire, and I knew that she could feel my anger and my frustration towards her. I was just so grateful. And so I chose to open up and be vulnerable with her and share with her how she had been such a part of my own growth journey. It felt so good to bring that to her. I felt such an opening in this particular relationship with her. It felt really good. It felt so good to be in that vulnerable space. So today I want to ask you, how are you keeping others at bay? What personality traits are you using to not let others in? And as I have been observing my own behavior, I've been observing other people as well and asking people, sharing my story a little bit and asking them, what is it that you use to keep others away? How do you keep others at a safe distance without allowing them in emotionally, without allowing them to see you? I want to share with you some of the traits that people have shared with me and some of the other traits that I have just observed that people use so that we don't get too close. Because oftentimes people think, including myself, if we get too close, someone might see the core of us. And oftentimes at the core, we think we aren't good enough, we aren't lovable, we're not special. There are so many little traits that we think others might see of us, and we don't want them to see. So we use traits to keep others away. So for me, it was that really big personality that I didn't realize was going in front of me and judging the entire situation, but also keeping others out. I am unzipping it and letting it go because I don't want to keep anyone out. I so want to be available. That's my job as a coach, is to be available to you because I expect you to be available for me. And so you will only be as available to me as I am willing to be available to you. Let that sit in for a minute. You will only be as available to me as I am willing to be available to you. So here are some of the traits that I have recognized and that some of them have given me. Some of my clients, just friends, relatives that have given me like, oh, maybe I use this. Sarcasm. Sarcasm is a really easy way that we might not even know. It might be so ingrained in us that we don't realize keeps other people away. Because sarcasm can be snarky. I mean, sarcasm can be funny when it's used in a specific way. When sarcasm is used with specific people, it keeps someone away. It actually doesn't let anyone in. Humor, when used in a snarky way, also is a shield. It's a shield because if we're continually being funny, we actually don't have to check in with ourselves and see what's really going on. Anger. Anger is another way that keeps people away from you. It keeps people at a distance because when we're perpetually angry or maybe just perpetually on edge, well, we haven't looked at our own stuff, but it continually keeps others away. Like it keeps others at a distance so that we don't have to let anyone in. Happiness in a specific way, which really surprised me as I have observed others around me. I've been actually really quiet lately, watching and listening and observing other people's behaviors so that I could potentially observe my own, just to get more reference, more of a frame of reference. And so I have noticed that there are other people who are seemingly always so happy and want to bring that special thing of happiness to everyone else. However, if you really look deep within, they are unhappy. They might not even know it. Like they might think that I'm supposed to be the happiest person on earth and that I'm supposed to bring joy to everyone around me, when in fact, they can be using that as an escapism to not be themselves and to not look within, because there's something within that they are not willing to look at. What are some of the personality pieces, some of the personality traits that you might be using to keep others away from you? So I've just given a few. A couple more, and then I really would love to hear from you. So another one is control. When we are willing to have control over other people, of course that keeps them at bay, because who wants to be under someone's control? And when we have the desire or the need to control other people around us, first of all, of course, it's keeping them at arm's length. When we are in control of other people or trying to control other situations, rather than just letting everything flow or not allowing someone else's personality to just flow, there is something within us that we are trying to keep control of, not only trying to control other people's responses or behaviors or situations, because if we were to allow everything to just kind of unfold and flow, there would be something within us that would be ready to unfold and flow. So control is another way of keeping everyone at a safe distance. Here's something else that I know that we can all relate to: knowing it all, like a know-it-all, right? So when we portray or think that we have to know it all, it's a ruse. It's keeping everyone at a distance. Again, no one knows everything. We don't have to know it all. You know, it's okay to say, I don't know. I don't know that answer. Let me figure that out. Let's find that out together. When we have to put on this front of knowing everything, it's keeping others at bay, because we are a know-it-all. We know everything. We're so smart. When actually internally, we often think that we don't know anything. It's okay. It's okay not to know everything. No one does. That's another way that we attempt to keep everyone at bay. This has been such an awesome unfolding for me. And I hope it's brought pieces forward for you that you can unfold as well, because it's so time on our planet, in our growth in humanity as a nation, to allow others in. It's time to stop being individuals in the way that we are just standing by ourselves. Like we are just in solidarity by ourselves, for ourselves, with ourselves. It's time to let these shields fall off and float away so that we can become an inclusive humanity of everyone. We are here to include everyone, not to exclude and keep others away. I would love to hear how you have figured out, and maybe this will take you a week or two, of just being willing to see. And if you don't know how to look to see, how is it that I'm keeping others away? Here's what I usually do. When something comes up for me and I think, well, I'm probably doing that, but I'm not sure how that is showing up, I just set the intention to be willing to see how that's showing up in my life. Like, be willing to see how it is, what personality trait it is that you're using to keep others at bay, to keep others away. What is it that you're using to keep you feeling safe? And when I say keep feeling safe, I don't mean I need to feel safe in a way that keeps me protected. I mean keeping you safe so that others don't see you. How are you keeping others away? So just be willing to see. So you just say, I'm ready. I am willing to see how I am using different personality traits, how I'm keeping others away. How do I think I am way better than everyone else? How do I think that I'm better than other people in my family? And why? Why do I feel like I need to keep them away? What is it that I'm not willing to see myself? What is it that I'm not willing other people to see? I hope this has served you. It served me in an incredible way that I got to thank my coach last week and thank her for showing me this and bringing it to the table, because it was such an incredible gift and continues to be an incredible gift for me, because to do my work in the world, I want to be seen by everyone. I want to be available to everyone. And I'm willing to be seen and available. So just ask yourself, am I willing to be seen? Am I ready to be seen? Am I ready to take off this mask and this shield that I've been using to keep others away? Have a great week. I am so excited to hear what you have to say about how you use this and how it keeps others away. Blessings. I'll see you next week.